Hello and welcome. My name is Jake and I'm joined by Charlie as we discuss the world of football with a focus on data. This is Football with the Faff.
So welcome to our review of Gameweek 3. Jake, how did you find it?
I thought it was quite good to be, well, some games more than others. Few controversial moments, obviously. I mean, it wouldn't be the Prem if there wasn't. But yeah, overall, a decent game. Maybe a bit lower scoring than some might have thought for most games, but I think a good one to get into.
Yeah, so we'll kick it off with the early game on Saturday, Arsenal-Brighton.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal probably started how you'd expect, showing their quality, sort of keeping the pressure on Brighton. And, I mean, Saka gets a lovely assist for Havertz, ball over the top, then Havertz chips the keeper. I mean, it's a very nice goal. But, Brighton weren't out the game. They had their chances. I think Matoma had a volley towards the end of the first half. And they had a few more as well. And then, I mean, obviously we can't talk about the game without talking about the red card to Rice.
Yeah, so I'll obviously give my opinion on it. I thought it was the right decision for a second yellow. I know it was soft. I know it was a little bit petulant, but he's gone to take the free kick and he's kicked the ball away. Can you really complain?
Yeah, and sort of what I've seen online frustrates me because they go, "Oh, you can't get sent off for that," and I'm like, he hasn't been sent off for it. He's been yellow carded. Now his first yellow card, blatant yellow. I mean, it was an awful challenge, came flying in late. That was an easy decision for the ref. And then this one, don't get me wrong, I think Veltman's trying to play him a bit, but when you look down at the ball and flick your foot at it to kick it away, that breaks the rules now. It doesn't matter if you've hoofed it into the stands or whether you just sort of nudge it off the pitch. He's kicked the ball away. He's on a yellow. You can get booked for that. So yeah, I didn't really have any sympathy for him because at the end of the day, someone that experienced should know. Oh, I've got to be careful on a yellow.
Yeah, he's got to be smarter, hasn't he? And especially now he's going to miss the North London derby. I mean, what a nightmare.
Yeah, I was quite happy with it.
But yeah, away from the referee, and like you said with Brighton, I was quite impressed with Brighton as well. I thought Matoma and Minter are my kind of standouts for Brighton. We've obviously missed Matoma being injured for a long time, but he looks just as good, just as sharp. I mean, the way he carries the ball is unbelievable. And to be fair, both of Brighton and Arsenal's goal were caused by Lewis Dunk. His one is terrible error with Saka to lose the header for the first goal, and then his lovely pass through the middle to start the Brighton goal.
Yeah, I think that's a sign of a professional. You cost your team in a way, and then you've more than made up for it. It wasn't maybe the best goal Brighton will score because obviously it deflects off the keeper and falls to João Pedro, but I mean you take it. And I think it was Ayari so shot comes in and it gets deflected, but Reyes dived down to his bottom right corner, falls to Ayari sort of edge of the box. He has half the goal open and he just hits it at Reyes. And I was like, oh my God, you can't do that. So I think, Arsenal were a bit lucky to get a point. Obviously they'll dispute the red, but even before the red, I sort of felt Brighton could get something from the game. I know it was 1-0 at the time, but they were making chances.
Yeah, no, I felt the same. And like you said, I mean, the red changed the game. It was quite interesting to see Arsenal kind of structured, regimented, kind of organised, sitting off going, look, we're going to go for the point, and if we get a chance to get anything more, that's great. It was nice to kind of see that gritty side of Arsenal, because I think that's, I guess, what's probably cost them a couple of league titles, where they haven't had that little bit of, if we need to, we're just going to sit in and suffer.
Yeah, I did find, and this is probably because they don't train for it a lot, but I did find they're a bit sloppy in transition. They're trying to get out, and then whether it would sometimes be Havertz, it would sometimes be Saka who was up front, but they just couldn't really keep possession. But I don't know if that's something that maybe over the international break with the ones that stayed, they'll look at improving on, because you never know when that might happen. You might have made all your subs and someone gets injured. It can be something like that ruins your game, but you have to be prepared to adapt to a situation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right, so moving on to the next one, Brentford Southampton. I have to be honest, I had Southampton to get something from this, I think. And it was kind of the story of Southampton's season again. They obviously seemed to have loads of the ball, didn't really do a lot with it. Brentford were sitting in and played the game perfectly, really, and came away with another convincing win.
I mean, I don't know if Southampton are trying to beat Sheffield United from last season in terms of just looking hopeless, but the defending on display was... I mean, it was atrocious. It was abysmal. I don't see how, even if they do take a lead, they'd expect to hold on to it. Because, they brought in Ramsdale, who I think is a good signing for them. But the players in front, like for the second goal, Brentford's second goal, Southampton have the ball in defence. One ball played in, he's pressed. Brentford win the ball, one touch stuff into Mbuemo, and he literally just passes it into the net. You can't afford to do that. There's better teams than Brentford who'll punish you even more. So I really just I don't know, my opinion of them's going further and further down as we go on.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of hard to talk about Brentford without talking about the hypothetical gap that Ivan Toney may leave, even though he's not really been there for a while. And like you said, Mbuemo's got 2 goals from 0.8 XG on the weekend. Visser scored from 1.1, so they're not kind of long-range bangers. They're creating these good chances.
Yeah.
And I mean, 4 players in a Brentford team had 3 key passes or more. It's just, if you're Southampton, you've got to be sitting there going, he's the one that keeps creating the chances. Not only can we mark Mbuemo and Visser out of the game, we need to stop them getting the ball. It was like they just ignored the whole of Brentford's midfield, which just baffles me.
Yeah, and even for the first goal, it's a shot off the post, but the goalkeeper and all the defenders commit to that near post. So as it deflects off the post, it falls to Mbuemo again, who there's sort of one defender somewhat on the line, but he's not going to stop it. And it's just having that awareness. You're in the Premier League. There's very talented players in every team. You've got to be aware when they're open. Even if someone's having a shot, guess what? It can deflect. It can have a weird bounce, or anything can happen. Just have someone near them, just to be able to put some pressure to get a block in. You can't put 4 players all trying to block one shot.
Yeah, and my other worry for Southampton is almost similar to that in their firepower, their kind of physical ability. I mean, they won next to no headers on the weekend. Nathan Collins won all 4 of his aerial duels, most of which were against Brereton Diaz and Adam Armstrong. They've got a big lad in midfield that works hard and plays the ball nicely in filling downs. But other than that, if you need a goal from a set piece, or you want to just go long for a couple of minutes just to sit in or cause a bit of pressure, ball over the top, they just don't have an out ball.
Yeah.
And is that the players? Is that the way they've designed the squad? Because they're just going to stay with this perfect, play the ball around 100 times, and they're never going to go into a big centre forward? I don't know. But if I'm planning a squad for the year, I'd want a little bit more of a physical kind of output for the team, and they just don't seem to have it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they did score, I think it was 94th minute, and it was a very good goal in off the post.
Yeah, he took it really, really well, didn't he?
Yeah, but yeah, I don't see where they're going to pick up points. Like, they might be able to scrape a draw somewhere, I don't know. But certainly first win of the season, not sure at all where that's coming.
I'll tell you exactly where it's coming. Their first game after the international break when they have Man United. They are the perfect opposition for Southampton in that United are a mess structurally. Southampton just need to keep the ball and wait it out. It's the perfect game for them, and they'll have enough chances.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, look, over this international break, I can't imagine too many Southampton players are being called up. So maybe
So that makes it even worse.
well, exactly. Maybe they can stick together and try and find a way to play in the Prem.
All right, let's move on to Ipswich Fulham. So Ipswich picked up their first point in the Premier League for 22 years, I believe. And their star man was Liam Delap, who scored a goal, made 3 passes in the game, and only had 18 touches.
Yeah, I've been impressed with him so far. Obviously, their first 2 fixtures, Liverpool and City, you can't really judge them on that. Like most teams will lose to them, and I thought they gave a decent account of themselves in both games. Obviously they took the lead against City. Then what happened after was a bit disappointing. And against Liverpool, that first half, I was very impressed with them keeping it at 0-0. But yeah, obviously home against Fulham, Delap with a really good sort of driving run, and I mean what a finish right across goal. He could become sort of a fan favourite as the season progresses, because it seems like he's going to get plenty of game time, and he's clearly got quality as well.
Yeah, no doubt at all. And another assist for Anthony Robinson, who started the year well. Traore scoring a goal, but Smith Rowe kind of disappearing compared to last week, where he was setting the world on fire. What do we think of Fulham? Where do we think Fulham's ceiling is at the moment?
I mean, at the start of this, or before the start of the season, I said that they would drop a bit. They'd be maybe more around the sort of 14th, 15th sort of area. And I do feel maybe they will stick around there. Muniz hasn't really got going. He's had chances, he should have scored, but he's been struggling a bit. And
you said he'd score 20 goals this year, didn't you?
Not 20, 12. Okay, 12. There's still time. 4 hat-tricks, 4 games, that's all he needs. But yeah, I do feel that if they have a striker that's firing, they could be a decent threat. But yeah, I think they are sort of in that group of, on their day, they can give you a run for your money, but does that day come consistently enough?
Yeah, and yeah, I just don't know what to think with Fulham. I'm with you. I think their ceiling's kind of just below hunting for Europe, but I don't see them anywhere near the relegation battle this year. So there's quite a wide gap for them for me this year, and I'm not quite sure where they're going to settle in.
Yeah, sort of if they finish 11th or they finish 14th, I wouldn't be surprised of either. I mean, you tend to have... It tends to be quite close between those positions. But look, we'll see what happens as the season progresses.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so we'll move on to a club that had a little win off the field, but unfortunately lost on it in Leicester versus Aston Villa. So Leicester obviously won one of their 2 PSR appeals, I believe the word is, and the Premier League have said they won't kind of reappeal it, but another disappointing result at home, but against a good team, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see Skip out there. He did make the foul for Villa's first goal, although I thought it was a little harsh because he does get the ball, to be fair to him. But yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll say about Villa, just to switch it up a bit, is Watkins hasn't really got going yet, has he?
No, not at all. I mean, Watkins had a 0.7 XG, so obviously had a few decent chances, but didn't take them, and Duran came on and seems to be finishing games really well. I wonder how much longer he can sit on the bench if he's going to keep scoring.
Yeah, I believe Watkins has pulled out of the England camp as well. Now, I don't know if that's injury or if it's just protecting him and wanting him to stay on the Villa training pitch, and I don't know if he feels there's something wrong with him, or if he just needs a break, because obviously he was in the Euro squad. But yeah, I believe he got the assist for Onana's goal, so he is contributing. But I mean, after last season, the expectations are much higher for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, coming back from a big, emotional, exhausting summer, it's no surprise he's not started on fire. But I mean, who cares when you have Duran, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, they're probably very happy that they kept him now, after all the speculation and whatnot in the summer. But yeah, Leicester, they did okay. I wouldn't. They're certainly not as bad as Southampton have been, but I didn't really feel they would get anything from the game.
Yeah, well, having not watched the highlights again, and another game where the stats kind of astounded me. Leicester had 57% of the ball against Villa, which is not something I'd have expected. I mean, we all associate Leicester as being a counter-attack team, and Villa as being a very Spanish kind of technical team, and that just clearly wasn't the case. I mean, to add to that, Villa made 21 fouls.
Jeez.
So we must have seen a really gritty side of Villa. I mean, you could see the kind of little bits of it in the highlights, but nothing to that extent.
Yeah.
And the star man that I've picked out for the game was Harry Winks, who, again, like he did in the Championship, is beginning to control the ball again and really allowing Leicester to absorb pressure just by having it. I mean, he made 76 of his 84 passes, Winks, and contrary to popular belief, not many of them were backwards, which is a nice one as well.
Yeah. I obviously as a Spurs fan, I have a fondness of Winks, and wanted to see him do well. Obviously, Skip's there as well, and yeah, I hope that both of them can be key players for Leicester as the season goes on. Maybe they stay up, and a big thanks can be given to them. But yeah, I don't see them getting out of the relegation battle for a while. It will be late in the season that they keep themselves safe, or they may well go down.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think they'll have a rough year, and that second points appeal will be really, really telling as to what's going to happen to Leicester, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, right, well, let's move on to another PSR derby in Nottingham Forest Wolves. So that ended 1-1, and I have to say that stats were unbelievably even. And it was kind of as you'd expect. The little highlight that I read in the season is that it was Wolves' first goal from outside the box in 47 league games. So first in 173 attempts outside the box.
Jesus. Well, I mean, look, Wolves are a team that have struggled to score for a while now, years. So maybe they need to start doing it more. When something's not working, you got to try everything you can. But yeah, very, very strange in the sense both goals were early. I think Wood scored within 10 minutes, and then 2 minutes later, Bellegarde hits that screamer, and suddenly it's 1-1. I think we both sort of felt it'd be a close game. Neither side is really on form, and that's probably expected as well. But yeah, again, they're both sides that I don't really know what to make of them yet. I don't know if they will improve. You hope for their sakes that they will, because I think you need to get some momentum. But each taking a point, Forest will probably be disappointed because they were at home, but I think Wolves will be happy enough getting a goal and getting a point to sort of try and kickstart their season a little.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just a couple of bits to pick out. I thought the battle of the central midfielders was what made the game so even. I mean, Sangare made 7 tackles, Lamina made 8. 2 real hard-working, battling teams, and I think both of those players embodied kind of the teams they were. One of the real interesting things I saw, though, was the player with the most passes into the final third was Morgan Gibbs-White with 8, which makes sense. He's a creator. He drops between the lines. And someone who was also joint on 8 for Forest was Murillo, the centre-back.
Oh.
So, again, having watched the highlights, not something I saw too often, but shows his kind of ball-playing versatility in this Forest team.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a fan of him last season, seeing some of the runs he went on and stuff. It was quite impressive for a young centre-back. I think Forest have potentially struck gold with him there because, who knows how good he could be.
Yeah. All right, and saving the best 3 o'clock game till last. Oh my lord, Everton Bournemouth.
I was watching Soccer Saturday, had it on in the background, and I sort of saw Everton 2-0, and I thought, oh wow, I didn't expect that. It was 70 minutes in at that point. I was like, well, I'm a bit surprised by Bournemouth. They haven't been at their peak, but I didn't expect them to struggle that much. And then obviously 87 minutes comes around. Semenyo at the back post grabs one. You think, okay, bit late though. And then a couple minutes later, cross into the box. It was Cook with the header, and you think, oh my god, how have they thrown a 2-0 lead? With 3 minutes of normal time left. Obviously there was 6 minutes added on, but still, you expect your team to hold out. And then, Sinistera goes and wins it. And, I mean, the reaction from the crowd when that goes in is just, I feel so sorry for those fans. Because there's a lot of things going on that's out of their control. They've got a new stadium next season. And they might be, entering it in the Championship.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. I have to say, I think Everton finally started to play into what they're going to have to play into as a Sean Dyche team and a team that are going to scrap at the end. 96 long balls, big centre-forward scored a goal and set up one for the centre-back. Idrissa Gana Gueye was the most passes in the Everton team with 38. A couple of weeks ago we were talking about how Van der Ven and Romero had almost 100 each. Other centre-forward in Diaye, who's obviously was fantastic at Sheffield United, won 3 tackles, which is, I think, the most a centre-forward at Everton's made in a very long time. They started to play a little bit more direct, a little bit more into Calvert-Lewin, who's going to need to have a good year, or better, one of them's got to. And it looked okay. And then they just collapsed, yeah. Like you said, 5'9", Lewis Cook scoring a header between James Tarkowski and Michael Keane is unforgivable. That's ridiculous. Sinistera played 26 minutes, set up one and scored. Just the fragility and the terrible feeling around Everton. How do you get rid of it?
Yeah, it's such a horrible situation because, they need a hero. I'm not going to sing the song. If they'd won 2-0 against Bournemouth, I think you'd start to go, oh, hello, maybe it's not all completely doom and gloom, but the fact not only that they lost, but they lost in that manner, destroys all hope. You can't be 2-0 up in the 87th minute and lose. You just can't. Bournemouth were not good that game either, and you've literally gifted them 3 points, and it feels like you're gifting them more than that. Everton losing their first 3 games, maybe you'd expect that, but maybe not in the manner that they have. 3-0, 4-0, 3-2. 2 of those games were at home. You can't do that if you're gonna be fighting for survival, or just at all.
No, I just don't know where they go from here, Everton. That's such a horrible feeling to go into the international break with as well. Yeah, really, really tough one for them. And right, let's move on to the last game we saw on Saturday, which, to be fair, I don't think needs that much analysis. In West Ham Man City, Erling Haaland scored a hat-trick from 1.7 XG, and all goals were, unbelievably good. There was a moment where he tracked back Antonio down the wing.
Yeah, I saw that.
All the way to nearly parallel to his own box. And you just think, how is anyone going to get near a team that has him, let alone a team managed by Guardiola and has all of the money of Qatar? It's just, unbelievable. Or Abu Dhabi, I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't want to mix up my Arab countries.
Yeah. They'll come after you.
A couple of interesting stats just before we go as well, because I don't really have anything else to say. Gundogan made 26 of his 26 passes, which is always a highlight for me. Love seeing that on the screen. And De Bruyne with 6 key passes. Looks like he's kind of come back out of the semi-retirement he was in last year to play a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to see him back, to be honest. He's always a player that you can enjoy, and he was quite a clutch player for them when they won the treble, which I'm sure you love to think about. But yeah, and just another touch on Haaland. He could have had 4, like right at the end. He's played through a bit wide, a bit of an acute angle. He squeezes it between the legs of Fabianski, but Fabianski just managed to sort of get enough on it to stop it going in. But I was just like, I'm speechless. Like, how can you get back-to-back hat tricks within the first 3 games of the season? And he could have had 4 in one of them. Like, I'm very scared.
Oh no, it's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, and just to add a little bit on West Ham, which it's not a game where really I think you can say too much about them, but they seem positive. They seemed okay with the performance. Obviously getting whacked by City is a weekly occurrence for whoever's playing them, but they seem positive. They had a fair bit of the ball, created a few decent chances. I know the goal was an own goal, but yeah, they were pretty positive with their performance, which is a good one to go into the international break with, even if you're losing.
Yeah. I think West Ham, they made some very good signings in the summer. You're not surprised if it takes some time to get it to work. They beat Palace. They, albeit deflected goal, but it was a goal for them against City and an equaliser at the time. I think West Ham will be okay, and we will see some improvement as the team gels together.
Right, so before we move on to the 2 where we'll have a little bit more of a kind of lengthy review, Chelsea won, Palace won. That shocked me. I thought Chelsea would be back in it again. Fantastic result last week. I thought they'd kind of carry on the good form. Jackson scored. Palmer set up. You're thinking, all good. And it was Dean Henderson to the rescue, and Palace ended up with a point.
Yeah, before Chelsea's goal went in, Madueke had a few chances. Henderson was good to stop those, but it's difficult with Chelsea, as it has been for a while now. You don't know what you're going to get. You know they've got quality. You know they've got some of the most talented players in the league. They should have beaten Palace, based on what I saw. Don't get me wrong, I just saw the highlights, but I was surprised with some of Henderson's saves. I thought it was very good to meet some of the attempts. And then, obviously, when there's a player like Eze, you know he can have a moment of class, and his finish was that. I don't know why no one was out there sort of just being a little tight to him. You don't have to stand on his toes, just at least be there to be able to block a shot. And yeah, they were punished for it.
Yeah, I want to pick up on something you said at the start there, in that you don't really know what you're going to get. I remember when, I think it was Graham Potter, in about November, I think, Chelsea won a game. I can't remember who they were playing. And I remember everyone going, is this kind of the Chelsea team now? And he was going, yeah, look, we're looking a lot closer to kind of where we want to get to. Players are getting a load of minutes now, and it's good. And you're thinking, by November your season's started. Your season's been going for a decent amount of time. You can't be in a stage where you're still working out how to deal with your players.
Yeah.
And I feel the same with Poch last year. I mean, I'm not sure it was said. I'm sure it was Potter where that happened, but he probably felt the same, where he got to about November and started going, right, this is probably my squad. And I know Maresca's saying he's got 20 players kind of training away from the squad, but in terms of what they had on the weekend, they started with Palmer, Neto and Madueke. They brought on Felix, Mudryk and Nkunku. And they've still got Sancho, who's not even in the squad. They've got a load of different centre-backs. I mean, are they going to change their back four if they keep conceding? They nearly brought in another centre-forward. It's just, are we ever going to get to a point where this Chelsea team settles?
No. No. I mean, I don't think you can have a settled team when the squad is so big. You know, they had like 40 players, and obviously you can't have all them in the Europa League or the Europa Conference League or the Premier League. So how do you cut that down? You know, you're going to have to make friends and enemies. You're going to have to say, you work for me, you put everything in for me, and you don't. And I mean, yeah, it's just a huge mess that's caused by themselves. I know they like to say, oh, they're limited by PSR or whatever, but when you spend that much on that many players, guess what? It catches up to you.
Yeah, but even still, even without the big squad size, I'm just talking specifically about kind of the creative players. How can you have Neto, Palmer, Madueke, Mudryk, Felix and Nkunku, Sancho? You've got 7 for 3 positions. I get wanting to rotate, but they are 7 players on north of 100 grand a week.
Yeah.
How do you keep them happy? You can't.
No, I do not understand why they're doing what they're doing. You know, because Felix was loaned in under Bowley, and obviously in his debut then he got sent off, so that was a good start. And you know, he had some decent performances, but I didn't go, oh wow, I hope they don't sign him. You know, and obviously a year on, they've now got him again. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's well measured acquisitions. Like obviously, a lot of those players you go, oh, you know, they could do a job. You know, wouldn't mind them as a 4th choice even. You know, probably higher. But I mean, yeah, as you say, having 7 of them, well, that's 4 that aren't going to start. That's the majority. Are you going to rotate that much? Are you going to say, right, you get 60 minutes. If you haven't done enough, you're instantly coming off. Or even, you know, you get half the game. And if I'm not happy with you at half time, I'm switching you out. You know, do you become super strict with it? Or does it just continue being I think it's a mess either way, whatever you do.
Yeah, and I mean, to add to all of that, I don't see a world where he takes Palmer off if he needs a goal. So that's only 2 positions there. Yeah. So then you've got, what 7? So you've got all of those players fighting for 2, not 3 spots. I mean, unless Felix or Nkunku end up playing as a sort of false 9 and they take Jackson off again, you've got loads of players for 2 spots for wingers. And those players aren't players that are going to accept being on the bench. I mean, they brought Jadon Sancho in on loan on 350 grand a week with an obligation to buy of 20 million. He's gonna lose it again. He's gonna go crazy.
Yeah, with Sancho, I always felt he was a bit of a Chelsea player. Like I could see him playing for them, but not in this context.
I think the Felix and Sancho deals, transfer fee wise, are worth the gamble.
Yes.
Because if Sancho's rubbish, but you've got him on kind of a 3-year deal, and you're only paying 20 million for him, and it doesn't work out, you think, all right, it's probably worth the risk. I mean, Felix was less than 50 million, and you think, all right, again, for the talent he is in his age, it's probably worth the risk. But you don't need 7 of them. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, such a tin pot club.
Yeah, I think I've got angry too early as well. So we'll have a little bit of a cool down while you talk me through Spurs Newcastle.
This will not be a cool down. So now last week I predicted a 3-2 Newcastle win. I didn't have much hope, especially after recent years. Most of my memories of St James's Park are bad. And I remember you predicted a 0-0. Now, I saw a fun little stat, is that Newcastle Spurs is the longest running Premier League fixture to not end 0-0.
Oh well, my predictions are always perfect. As you can tell. Yeah.
Well, I mean, eventually it's got to happen, but
I'll just do it every year. I'll go with it.
you get good odds on it. So, in the game, we played a lot better than I was expecting. Newcastle were not on it. We did score from a corner, but Romero was offside because we played it short first, and that was a high and then a low, obviously very quickly, and then they punish us with a slight lapse in concentration. Romero sort of pushed forward as he sometimes does to press and tackle. Newcastle get a throw in. They quickly take it. I think it's thrown over Maddison's head. In behind, they sort of go to the byline and pull it back for Barnes, who finishes quite well. And in that moment, I was like, "Oh no, I've seen this script before." I was enjoying how we were playing, but you're 1-0 down, so it's not good enough. Get to half time, 1-0 down. Okay, right. Sometimes Ange lights a fire under them and you see a different side second half. He brought on Johnson for Sarr, so Maddison dropped a little deeper, Kulusevski went as the 10 and Johnson was out on the right. I thought he was quite effective when he came on. He put a cross in, it was deflected, goes up to the back post, Odebeer waiting at the back post, probably should head it, goes with his knee, or he tries to lift his foot high enough, was never going to happen, and obviously it ends up off target. And yeah, that was really driving home the point of this is not our day. And then obviously our goal comes about. Maddison takes a touch inside the box, has a shot, not the best, but Pope sort of pushes it to the side. Johnson's there to acrobatically try and get it back on target, which, to be fair, he does do. It wasn't the best connection in the world, but it was enough for Pope to have to get fingertips to it, and then Dan Burn, my favourite Newcastle player, puts it in. And then what happened was always what happens with Spurs. We were pushing. Pope did make a very good save against one of Maddison's shots that was going in top corner. Brought on some subs, nothing really worked, and then our defensive line isn't straight. Murphy gets in behind, squares it for Isak for the easiest goal he'll ever score.
Yeah, just to pick up on the end bit, so Murphy obviously in behind, and Harvey Barnes scoring. Gordon's numbers were pretty good in the game. How confident do you feel in kind of your fullback's ability to defend, or is it more the structure of the team that allowed Newcastle's wingers to really make a difference?
In the first goal, that's just the team's not focusing. I can't remember who it might have been. Gordon that got in behind, or it might have been Joe Linton or someone got in behind Maddison. That was his man at the time. So you might not be in your main position, but in that moment, guess what? People will take free kicks, corners, throw-ins quickly. You've got to adapt and be like, okay, this man will be a danger. I need to make sure either they don't get the ball, or if they do, they can't do anything with it. And I know that's a struggle for some of them, but, like we said earlier, Haaland running back and pressing Antonio or whatever, you have to put your shift in. So, for me, the game was not lost in the defence. It was lost in the attack. You got one side who was clinical. Isak Barnes, Gordon, all very good players. We've got good players too, but my God, they couldn't score for the life of them. And Newcastle didn't have their best defence there. They were there to be got at. They didn't play great, and it's another very frustrating game for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to ask you any kind of existential questions, but a poor end to last year, and you obviously started last year on fire, and you're not doing that now. What's the feeling around the club in terms of how you're playing and kind of confidence-wise in the people in charge?
If you mean people in charge as in, Levy and the board, and ENIC, there's trust there that will never be rebuilt because of actions that have happened. I don't know if you saw, but we were one of 3 clubs to vote against the new price cap in European games.
No.
So yeah, we've had the Super League debacle, we've had this. It's constant sort of pushing down of fans for profit. And look, football is about profit now. It's about who can sort of spend the most, who can gain the most. But you want it to be able to be enjoyed by fans. That's the most that should be the most important thing at the end of the day. So in terms of that, I don't see a world where it's ever going to be calm water again. In terms of coaches, we need set-piece coaches. That was something that we were crying out for. And you laugh, but we've got the mates. We've got Ryan Mason as the attacking set-piece coach. He wasn't a legendary set-piece taker or anything. He's there because we like having him around the club. And I appreciate what he's done. He's stepped in when we've needed someone, and he seems like a good guy. He gets on with the players well, but evidently that shouldn't be his job. And then his name's escaped me now, but our attacking set piece coach, the Aussie who used to play for
Yedinak.
Yeah, Yedinak. Sorry, I completely forgot his name. I mean, you've seen how many times we concede from set pieces, or how many times we look frail from set pieces. Evidently, that shouldn't be what he's doing, because he's not getting anything out of the players. Now,
Royce, but he sets him up perfectly. He just sets him up upside down.
yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. He thinks we're attacking, but it's like, no, mate, turn it around. But for me, that would have been our best signing of the summer if we'd got a proper set piece coach that changes things. We had one under Conte, and then he left soon after Conte did. It can be such a big part of a game, because if you're scrapping but you get a corner, that's a chance, that's an opportunity to score. So it can really break a momentum of a game. It can really just hold you up when you need it. So in terms of again, coaching, I think that there's obviously people. I've seen people already saying "and out" and whatever. I mean, we're playing well, and I know there's more to football than playing well, but we're making chances. We should be putting more away. So with that, I go, the players are doing what they were doing last season in getting good positions, getting in that final third. I've seen some stats. We've had the highest average possession. Funnily enough, Southampton are second on that. Just as a little side note, we've been in the final quarter more than anyone else. Like, all these things that you've got the ball so far up the pitch, and yet you can't score, and it's the most frustrating thing in the world. I'm not really worried. Solanke's been out for these 2 games. Against Everton, you'd bank on him scoring. Against Newcastle, I feel we could have used him as, again, a physical threat, sort of being in the mind of the centre-backs, because we don't put in that many crosses for headers. Solanke could be someone who changes that a bit. And obviously Richarlison was injured too, so we had no option of him. I I'm not looking forward to the North London derby. It's going to be scary, but I think over the next month we'll hopefully get a bit more positivity, because obviously we've had a win, a draw and a loss now, so you can't make too much of the start. But in terms of, you know, the results, but I'm optimistic about this season still.
Oh, that's very nice. Well, it's such a shame that Man United got called off on the weekend, and that was all the games we had.
Yeah, that was a real shame. Hang on, I just got to count the goals. One. Oh, there's 3 goals. Did you score any goals?
Oh.
So come on, how did you feel before the start of the game? Let's go there first.
Optimistic. I just think Liverpool haven't really. This was all before.
Yeah.
But I thought Liverpool hadn't really had a big test. They obviously had done well in the games, but they were kind of consistently doing okay.
You'd expect them to have won those games.
Yeah, and I think we had De Ligt, who hasn't been bedded in at all yet. We had Xerxes, who's not had a start yet. Casemiro looked leaner, fitter, kept saying all over the summer, and he had a brilliant game in a Community Shield, I thought, and has started okay. I thought having Mazraoui in and bedding in, I mean, he was really good for his first game and still okay against Brighton, so it all looked pretty positive, and there was a decent air of expectation that Garnacho would start, and he's done really well off the bench, so it was kind of a here's when our season starts, because most of our players are going to be fit and ready, bar Ugarte. Here's the time to really see what Liverpool are made of, and
they're made of a lot more than you. Okay, so I'll give a little piece and then I'll let you sort of run away. So
oh yay.
So if I just go through the goals, first goal that Liverpool score, Gravenberch has the ball, driving forward. You're caught. Obviously, he gets the ball from Casemiro's loose pass. I mean, I don't really know why he's doing a first time pass. He's got space. He's got time. Maybe it's overconfidence. So anyway, you're getting sort of broken on. Salah gets the ball outright, puts a lovely cross in with his weak foot. There's 2 Liverpool players open all the space in Old Trafford at the back post. Not one midfielder, defender. I think both your fullbacks had already run up, which I'm not a fan of. I think you need a sort of pendulum with fullbacks. So you've always got 3 defenders at the back, and depending on the situation or whoever's more attacking will go. But it was like, oh, okay, it's a goal. I should say before that, obviously Trent scored, but Salah's flick was offside or whatever. But
a mile off. You can see it from anywhere. Yeah, could have seen it from space.
And then obviously not too long later, Casemiro's caught in possession. There's a turnover. However, in this case, you had about 6 players against Liverpool's 3. So you got numbers back. They're in the box, and yet I think it was Salah again puts the ball in on the ground. Diaz is in between your centre backs, and just it's a lovely finish. He just sort of caresses it into the bottom corner. In that moment, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, because in no way can you have twice as many players as them in that area, and they be open, they be free in the centre of the box. And then for Liverpool's final goal, it was Mainu that got caught that time. Salah's in space. Onana's really at the near post, so when Salah gets it, he can just sweep it into half the net. And
Onana was in outer space.
Yeah.
Salah was in space.
It was an abhorrent showing from you, and I couldn't help but feel that Liverpool were taking the piss with how, I don't know if you saw, but at a corner, Onana sort of elbowed Van Dijk, and he was going like, ow, oh, that hurt. Just really milking it. But okay, so they're the facts that happened. how did you feel about the moments in the game?
All right, let's start with a bigger picture before we go into individuals. I thought we were so sloppy. At first half, every pass, and yes, Casemiro was absolutely the worst of it, but every single pass was the wrong weight. It wasn't quite where it should have been.
Yeah.
Often they were aiming for the people that weren't in enough space. Everything looked wrong.
Mm.
And the holding midfielders quite a lot drop into where the fullbacks are, and the fullbacks come inside a lot.
Mm.
And Casemiro does not know how to do that. He looks lost.
Mm.
I mean, the first goal that we conceded, he was out on the wing, flicking the ball around. You're thinking, I get you want to move people in, but surely it'd be better just to leave Dallo there and put Casemiro in the middle.
Yeah.
But then again, in the second goal, he's in the middle. So there's no excuse for that either. Anyways, bigger picture, Slot has been in the job for 3 games, whatever it is, inherited a really good Jurgen Klopp squad and good work ethic, all of that. But we are in a stage now where, rightfully so, it was questioned a lot last year and we had so many players injured that I think it was fair as an excuse.
Yeah.
But what are we? Are we a pressing team? Because, yes, we press, but then our defensive line was one of the deepest last year. Are we a team that sit off? Because in that case, why have we got everyone else running forwards and we leave Casemiro on his own in midfield a lot? Are we a team that's going to keep the ball and knock it around? Because in that case, why have we got wingers that just take the ball and run with it on the counter-attack if we're going to play the ball around? Are we a team that are going to play into a big centre-forward? And in that case, why are we not playing the ball long? I'm not quite sure what we are. And yes, his excuse will be, we've won 2 trophies, we've had loads of players injured. Both true, both very, very true. But both of those, I mean, Newcastle, I think we deserve to beat. But we're looking like a team that play against other teams. We're not looking like a team that are anything in their own right. And that is a worry. But
yeah,
let's go into the individuals. Casemiro was abysmal. 27 of 37 passes made, and about 10 of them were all to centre forwards or wingers that he messed up. He looked awful. How humbling must it be to have won that many trophies and have a 19-year-old stand next to you and go, "Oh my God, calm it down," playing the ball. I mean, nothing. Rashford, I actually wanted to mention because I didn't want to pile on. He looked safe every time he got the opportunity. He turned back. Okay, created 2 good chances for Xerxes, to be fair, but he just doesn't look like he's playing with any confidence.
No.
And I mean, there were big boos when Ahmad came on for Garnacho, and that was not because, I mean, everyone likes Ahmad. I personally, I think it should have been Ahmad and Garnacho.
At the time, I wasn't sure if it was because Maguire was going on, because they were both done at the same time. But then I was like, oh wait, no.
No. It was because Rashford was going off and wasn't going off. It was Garnacho. But again, I didn't think he did that badly. But he just looks too safe with everything. Xerxes, I thought, was the worst player on the pitch, including Casemiro.
He should
none
have
of his aerial.
Go on, sorry.
He won none of his aerial duels. He missed 2 chances with an XG of 1. And every pass was the wrong way. He slowed things down. I mean, his thing is meant to be that he drops into midfield, takes the ball, and then runs back in there. He dropped into midfield and he didn't bother running. No idea what he's meant to be yet, because he's not a centre forward. He's not a number 10.
Yeah.
He's not quick enough. He's not strong enough to be either. He's got good feet. He's tricky. Fair enough. But he's not got anything else going for him. I'd love to know what they think he's going to be. I think the sooner Højlund comes back, the better.
Yeah.
McAllister, I thought, was good for Liverpool. Just thought I'd chuck a Liverpool in there to kind of make me seem a little bit more balanced. But, I mean, he showed another side of himself. He made 5 tackles in the game, which I was impressed with. I thought Gravenberch was really good carrying the ball. And finally, back to the goalkeeper. Onana is meant to be this slightly erratic saver, but unbelievable ball-playing goalkeeper, extra centre-back. If he messes a few up, it's not the end of the world because he gives you so much.
Yeah.
He put so many balls into the stand. I mean, there was one chance where he had a 5-yard pass sideways and he managed to put it out for a throw-in and nearly hit Salah. I mean, 4 out of 12 launch attempts. Alisson had 2 out of 5 to add to that. So he's launching the ball and he's not launching it to anyone. I mean, he made no saves, conceded 3 goals, and all of them were terrible, terrible goals to concede. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of the finishes were good, but his positioning on all of them was dreadful. He is not a Man United goalkeeper at the moment. He's had a couple of good games and a couple of abysmal ones. He was brought in to change the way we play out the back. And he has. He's made us worse. So, nothing. And apparently Ugarte is going to be this kind of person that's going to change everything. I think he comes in for Casemiro. Apparently he gets a nosebleed whenever he goes forwards. He's a really good tackler, lots of interceptions, but he can't really play the ball. That's not his thing.
Right.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
A little, yeah.
I don't know where we go from there.
I mean, you need him to be your saviour, really. Because if he doesn't work out, you know, you spent a fair bit on him, and it's another one that just adds to the list, really, of promising players, or, you know, players that are playing for high-level teams that then come to you and just are non-existent. I mean, I really don't know where to go with you lot, because I can't believe that Ten Hag's been there 2 years and yet you're still like this. And I get at times he's not had all the players he's wanted and whatnot, but there is a...
Oh, this is his team now.
Yeah.
It's his team now. Yeah, no doubts. And
I mean, the one depressing thing is that you're only a point behind Spurs, which I'm very annoyed at, because you looked hopeless. I don't know if it was the players that didn't want to be there, but then it's a derby. You know, if you're not going to turn up for that, you're not going to turn up at all. I really do not understand why on earth you played like you did, because it was perfect into Liverpool's hands, and Liverpool should have scored a fourth. Szoboszlai had the ball in your box, took a touch when he should have shot. He was trying to mug you off as well. He was just trying to go, oh, look, I can walk it in. Obviously, he couldn't, but it should have been more.
I'm with you. With Ten Hag, I think whoever got the job at the end of kind of when John Murta came in and the Glazers were kind of actively looking to sell, they were going to stick with. I don't think it mattered who it was. I think they were going to stick with him because the fans just wanted someone to stay. Yeah. And Eric came in at the right time for that, won a trophy at the right time with the League Cup, and kept himself in that job. That League Cup gave him another year, and we did well in the first year. Again, argument is, what were we in that first year? We were a counter-attack team that played really well on the wings. I mean, Rashford scored a ton of goals. We didn't have a centre-forward. And the year after, he went in pre-season, I've got a new way of playing, we're not going to play the way we did last year. And it didn't work. Okay, we won the FA Cup. Good on him. And because of that, he rightfully got another year, in my opinion. I'm not saying he's the right man, but when you've got a structure that's just finding out how they work with Ineos above them, sacking loads of people, bringing loads of people in, do the manager last. So if you're going to do it, give Eric another year, see how it goes, and when you're all ready, when everything's in place, like Dan Ashworth only came in at the end of the window, when you've got everyone in place and ready, then you bring in your manager and you bring in your coach and stuff. So I get it. I get him getting another year, but he won't get the full year if this keeps going on. I mean, that was embarrassing.
Where do you think the cut-off line is around Christmas? If you're not in a certain position by then he's going to be in trouble.
History would tell you November. Ollie, Jose, and someone else. I don't think it was Moyes. Ollie, Jose. Either way, Ollie and Jose both went in November.
Right.
I'd say November, I guess. The next international break, you'd have to be thinking, look, if we're going to do it, we'll do it now. I think Ineos, it was weird to bring in Van Nistelrooy as a coach. I think everyone's expecting, if it goes wrong, for Van Nistelrooy to step in for the year. And that would be very popular with the fans. I mean, let's get that very clear. No matter what happens with Eric, if Van Nistelrooy gets a game in charge, it will be rocking Old Trafford. Like, we love Van Nistelrooy. There's no doubt. It will be like when Ollie first came in. It will be the exact same. Regardless of the results, he will get a lot of happiness from the crowd. But again, then you just get stuck in that loop, don't you? And Ineos' job is to get us to escape that loop.
Yeah. I mean, there's often with large amounts of change, there is some pain to come with it. And I don't see Ten Hag being there in a year, because they gave him a year extension. It's obvious that he's not the main guy. He's not, the one that they're pushing everything for. They got him some more high-profile players in the summer, so again, it weakens his sort of bargaining chip. And you should be challenging for Europe. You should be, in the higher tier of the Premier League, and yet you're not playing like it. You don't show that you deserve to be there.
No, I think you've summed that up very well. But yes. Right, well, let's move on to happier things. Player of the week and team of the week.
Right. So
who are you going with? And I'll do something different. I've got 3 names written down for each.
My player of the week has to be Haaland. I think didn't give it to him last week, but he's just scored back-to-back hat tricks. His finishes were immense as well. He could have easily had 4. As you said, he was getting back as well to help defend. I mean, he's so scary.
Yeah, I'm with you. Haaland was my first name as well, so I'm going to go with Mbeumo. Stepping up when Tony's gone, 2 goals, playing well off the wing and looking like Brentford's go-to man for the year. So yes. Team of the week?
There's only one it can be, mate. Liverpool. Played you off the park.
Yeah, my other 2 options were Bournemouth and Brentford, and just because of the scale of the comeback, I'm going to go with Bournemouth.
Yeah. That's the thing. Bournemouth did not play well for 70, 80 minutes of that match, but at the end of the day, it matters what the scoreline is, Spurs know that all too well.
And I've just seen the nominations for Player and Manager of the Month. Would you like to pick from the nominations?
Yeah, sure. I will.
So, Manager of the Month, there are 4 nominees. Arteta, Guardiola, Hurzeler and Slot. Who's your one?
I'd go with Slot. I think they've been playing well. He's just come in, 0 goals conceded, 7 scored, beat your biggest rivals. I think that's a great start for him.
Yeah, I'm going with Slot as well, just because I hope he gets the Manager of the Month curse, because every manager that comes in and wins it in the first month ends up getting sacked by Christmas, don't they? So I'm going with Slot as well.
I remember when Nuno won it, his first month in charge of Spurs, and we all know how that went. All
right, and then Player of the Month. I don't think this should take very long. Yeah. Haaland, Mbeumo, Onana, Palmer, Raya, Saka, Salah and Danny Welbeck.
Oh, well, Danny Welbeck's done quite well. Haaland.
Yeah, I'm going the same. You just can't ignore it, can you?
I did see something funny, though, that Haaland and Salah have the exact same amount of points on FPL.
How?
Because Salah gets a clean sheet point and he gets an extra point for a goal. So that's meant that he's equalled having 7 goals as a striker.
That's nuts, isn't it? All right, well, we're both in agreement for player and manager of the month as well.
Yeah.
Happy days.
I mean, yeah, I feel like it's been quite straightforward. There's been standouts, It's. I think that I saw that Palmer's created more chances than anyone else. I think he's created 9 so far this season. And look, he's been impressive, but I mean, you can't look away from 7 goals in 3 games.
And a little shout out to Anana as well. Douglas Luiz leaving, I think a lot of people are sceptical, but he's looked fantastic. As a threat from set pieces, scoring goals as well as his kind of break-up player, he's looked really impressive.
Yeah, and he's grabbed 2 goals already as well. So, you know, maybe not what they signed him for, but he's certainly shown his capabilities. Thank you for joining us. A like and a follow is greatly appreciated, and don't forget you can rate if you're listening on Spotify. This has been Football with the Faff. Goodbye.